Good morning, everybody. Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. I am super surprised that Christmas came this fast because it feels like just yesterday it was my birthday. But anyways, as promised last week, today is going to be a short story time. I wasn't exactly planning on posting today, but it is Christmas and I wanted to give you guys a little Christmas present, you know. Anyway, so we're going to get right into the story time. I'm going to bring you guys up close. There we go. Okay, so I am going to be doing more of a natural look today just because I do have places to go. But before we get into that, I am going to do my little rundown for those of you who might be new. So for most of the video, I will be looking in this direction because my mirror's over here and I would like to see what I am doing. I do tell these story times in a first person point of view, so if you don't like that, feel free to click out of the video. And most of these story times, if not all, are sent in from anonymous users. Okay, sorry if my eyes look watery. I had to put my contacts in. But anyways, let's get into today's story time. Story time about why my best friend cut me off. So a little background information. I was 24 and I had a full-time job working as a nurse when this all happened. Well, I had been best friends with this girl since probably 7th grade, and as soon as she turned 21, she got pregnant, she got married. Personally, that couldn't have been me. I didn't want children. I was not interested. I wanted to live my life. I didn't want any little freaking Oompa Loompas running around my house yet. But she was super excited until, just like any story of a girl getting pregnant young, her husband filed for divorce literally after 3 months of them being married to go and date some girl who just turned 18. And he was not interested in any part of my best friend. He signed over his rights. He didn't want the kid. He pretty much said, peace out. Well, when that happened, I let her move in with me because I had a pretty stable job at the time, and also her mom gave her a lot of crap about marrying some guy that she only knew for a month. So she didn't want to put her pride aside yet and go back to her mom and say, hey, you were right. But anyways, like I was saying, I low-key had my shit together. Her, on the other hand, she thought that working at Dollar General for the rest of her life was going to provide her and her child a financially stable life. Now, no offense to anybody who works at Dollar General, but when you don't have a significant other who's also making income, I personally just don't see how you could survive. Unless you find a very, 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 very cheap apartment. But you know what? No hate here. Get your money, sis. Anyway, so fast forward 6 years later, she's living at her mother's house. She ended up moving out of my house probably 6 months after being here because she would smoke weed in my house when I wasn't there and have random guys over 24/7. First of all, I lived in an apartment building. Okay, so all my neighbors could smell the weed. I was getting the cops called on me 24/7. Not to mention the guys that she would invite over would eat all of my food in the apartment. The food that I paid for. I didn't make her, you know, put in any money for the food because she had to worry about formula, diapers, and other things, right? Not only that, she's smoking around her child, and she was smoking while she was pregnant with him. Like, girl, get it together, please. So, like I said, she moved out. She moved back in with her mom, actually, and we ended up getting over the fight, of course. You know, she apologized. She was like, I was going through a really rough time, to be honest, you know. So around this time, her kid was 6 years old, and she decided that she wanted to go back to college so that way she could provide a financially stable life for her and her kid. So she needed somebody to watch her kid on the few nights that she had to go to class, because she did most of it online. And I was so happy for her that I decided that I would help her out because I had already finished college. I had a financially stable job. Well, at this point during my life, I had been dating a guy for 3 years and we had 2 dogs, and him and I were soon thinking about having kids. Well, the one night I am watching her son. He was playing in the living room while I was in the kitchen making dinner. And eventually I went in the living room to tell him that dinner was ready. And I walk in on this little gremlin poking my 20-pound dog with a fire poker. Yes, one of the metal things. that looks like the freaking thing that Poseidon carries with the 3 little sticks, like the prongs. So I walk over to him and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? My exact words. So I ripped it out of his hands and put it back where it goes. And I grabbed his hand and I smacked his finger. Like, I don't think you get it. When I walked in there, my dog is in a corner, physically shaking with its head down. We sat down, we ate. My best friend, she came and picked him up. That was done. And I wasn't too mad about it because the thing is like, that was the first time that he had ever done it. At this point, I had been watching him for, I want to say like 5 months consistently, where he would come over my house. But you know, I thought it was just like, he learned his lesson, it's done, right? Well, a few days later, she came over to drop him off so that way I could watch him again. And before she left, she was like, hey, can I talk to you real quick? Of course, I probably already knew what it was about. She was like, so Gavin told me that last time he was here, you hit him. And I told her, this motherfucker was poking my fucking dog with the fire stick. So yeah, I smacked his hands. She was like, oh, well, you know, he doesn't mean any harm. He plays with the dogs like that at home. And I'm like, first of all, bitch, this ain't home. And second of all, my dog literally has a mark on the side of his stomach from your dog going like this. Girl, anyways. So me being a little over dramatic, I was like, you know, that's how serial killers start, right? Not that her son's gonna turn out to be a serial killer, but you don't know. So fast forward 2 months, the one night he spent the night, and we hadn't had any problems that whole span of time. Well, in the morning, I realized that my dog was limping, and the dog would not go near Gavin, because usually in the morning, to have Gavin get more used to the dog, I would let him feed the dog. Well, when Gavin went and poured his food, the dog, my dog was like, nope, that little boy has some screws loose in his head. I'm not going near him. So once Gavin left, I took my dog to the vet, and it turned out that he had a broken arm. So my dog was walking around in a cast 24/7. So just because I was skeptical that Gavin did something to my dog, I put a nanny cam in the living room because he would sleep downstairs on the couch. And the one night he's sleeping over again, I decided to look on the cameras. And if you're wondering why my dog was downstairs at this time, it's because my husband has a home office downstairs that he usually works in really late just to like catch up on his stuff. So when I looked on the cams, my husband was downstairs working, Gavin was downstairs on the couch. So Gavin's laying on one side of the couch and my dog is laying on the complete opposite side of the couch, like complete opposite. And I see Gavin scooting like his butt down towards my dog, like down towards the other side of the couch. And then I see him start kicking my dog against the hard arm of like a couch, like, you know, where the wood shit is in there. He starts kicking my dog into it. So I run downstairs, I grab this kid off the couch, and I told him, if you ever kick my dog again or hurt my dog, I am going to paddle your ass. I mean, I had already smacked him on the butt once before this, but I pretty much told him that I'm going to paddle his ass worse. But anyways, so then he's like, I'm telling my mom, nah. Like, kid, you don't think I'll beat your mom's ass too? So then he gets picked up the next morning, and not even half an hour later, I get a call from my best friend, from my ex-best friend now. And she's like, don't ever talk to my kid like that again. You're disgusting. I would never talk to your kid like that. He's 6 years old. What do you expect from a 6-year-old? He doesn't know any better. So after that, I blocked her on everything because I tried telling her, like, maybe you should teach your kid that things like that are not okay, but she just wouldn't listen. She was like, don't tell me how to parent, nah. I was like, all right, not my problem anymore. But funny thing, a year later, I see on Facebook, I was still friends with her mom on Facebook, by the way, like I would talk to her all the time, but I see that their dog drowned in the swimming pool. It was a kiddie pool that wasn't even a foot deep. Okay, everybody, so that is the end of today's story time, but the girl who sent this in wanted me to ask you guys, do you think that she is in the wrong? So if you guys would like to share your opinions, you can leave them down in the comments below. If you guys like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of me, maybe hit that subscribe button down below. My posting schedule has been kind of funky in December. So if you guys want to know when I post my next video, make sure to click that bell. And if you guys would like to send in your anonymous story time, make sure to click the link in the description. Love you guys. Everybody, so I just got my hair redone, and you can probably tell because the front either looks a little bit white or green or blue, but it's because the blonde didn't take because I had permanent color on my hair, so I had to go back and get it redone. But the next time that I shower, it should look normal, like blonde like the rest of my hair. And not that any of you care, but I'm starting to take Spanish classes, you know, we love a bilingual queen. No, but seriously, I didn't realize in Florida how many people spoke Spanish, and I kind of want to break down that language barrier to actually meet some friends. So yeah, I'm gonna take Spanish classes. But other than that, today's story time is a little bit fucked up. Actually a lot. It's very messed up. And if this topic makes any of you guys uncomfortable, maybe just go and check out one of my other videos. This has to do with trafficking conspiracy, I'm pretty sure, if that's even a good way to put it. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into today's story time. I'm going to bring you guys up close. There we go. Okay, so before we get into today's story time, just a little quick rundown that I always do in case you are new to this channel. For most of the video, I will be looking in this direction because my mirror's over here and I would like to see what I'm doing. And I do tell these story times in a first person point of view, so if you don't like that, then you can leave. And these story times are sent in by anonymous people. Okay, so story time about how my grandma tried to sell me. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you heard that correct. So a little background information. This all happened when I was 15 and about to go into my freshman year of high school. So whenever I was a baby, my mom and dad had a very successful life. Both had went to college, they had really good jobs, but my dad wanted to move back to his hometown because he said that he wanted to raise his family there. Now my mom was kind of excited about this because she had always wanted to raise her kids more in like the suburbs, you know, not near a busy city or anything like that. So you would think, oh, well, you know, that's cool. No, it was not, because the issue was that my dad had a drug problem, okay? In the past, whenever he was around 16, he fell really hard in the drugs, but he went to rehab and he had been clean for 8 years. What my mom didn't know is that his quote hometown, it wasn't a good place to raise a family at all. Now, sure, it was out in the country, but there was still a lot of gang violence due to drugs. And my dad apparently started hanging out with people who he used to do drugs with in his past. Well, it turns out they were still on drugs, and you guys know how misery loves company. So all they had to do was ask him and put the drugs in front of him. And next thing my mom knew, all their money was disappearing. Not only was it because of his drug addiction, but he also had a gambling addiction on top of that, which my mom knew about, which is why she like kept the accounts separate. Like he wasn't allowed to have access to any money at all, but he ended up stealing one of their cards. Well, when this happened, my mom divorced my dad right away. She told him that either he could go and get help or this would be the last time that he saw her and I. And you guys can guess which one he decided. So because of this, I really never got to know my dad. He was put in prison for life after he had got involved in some gang violence. And I visited him like 3 times my entire life. But I'm thankful that my mom was strong enough to keep her head up through all of this, because the things that she told me about what went on in their relationship, nobody should ever have to go through. And trust me, I know everybody probably says this about their mother, okay? But my mom was seriously like one of the best people out there. She was the most nurturing person. She was always there if you needed her. And I'm not even just talking about because I was her daughter. This was for anybody in her life. And not to mention, she worked her ass off to be the best mom. Overall, she was definitely my best friend. And her and I were doing really good on our own for a while. She even met this one new guy who was awesome. I thought of him as a second dad. He thought of me as one of his own kids. And it finally felt like our family was complete. Well, sadly, that all changed on July 4th when my mom and Alex were on their way back from going to pick up the pizza, and a drunk driver hit them head on going 80 miles per hour. Just when things start to get good for me. The only thing I really remember from that night is my mom's best friend Lily coming to pick me up, and when we got to the hospital, I knew things must have been really bad because all of their friends and family were there. Sadly, eventually both of them passed away from injuries, and Lily ended up watching me the entire week before some social workers came to her house to come and pick me up. Now, apparently, I was going to live with my mom's mother, who I had never met in my life, and I only heard of her a few times. When my mom was alive, she would never talk about her, and the only time she did talk about her was like in a past tense kind of way. So, to be honest, quite frankly, I thought this girl was dead. So yeah, so not only did I have to move to some random neighborhood in California, but I had to live with somebody who I'd never met in my entire life. And once I got to the house, I literally wished that I could switch places with my mom. And I know that sounds fucked up, but like, I mean that in a literal way. Now, this house was pretty much a little shack with one bedroom and a closet. The kitchen was basically outside of the house because of how many holes there were in the roof. Also, not to mention, there were literally fucking bugs everywhere. And do not even get me started on the fucking bathroom. It was literally worse than a porta potty, and I'm not even joking. There was what looked like shit all over the ground, all over the fucking walls. The sink was broken, and I don't mean the knobs to the sinks, no bitch. I mean, you know how they have the glass stand-up sinks? Yeah, no, if you would have turned the water on, it probably would have flooded the entire house because the sink was literally broken in fucking half. I legit begged the social worker to take me with her, but they said there was nothing they could do until my court hearing came. And listen, I know it seems like I'm probably being a brat, okay? And I should just be happy and thankful that I have anywhere to go in general. But let's at least give me a little bit of a break considering my mom just died. I don't know who the fuck this person is that I'm going to live with, and I just got moved to a brand new state. So when I got in the house, I tried talking to my grandmother, who was way more hostile than I expected her to be. I expected it to be like, oh my god, hey grandma, long lost granddaughter, how are you? Nope, she shut that shit down right away. You could definitely tell that she was pissed off about the fact that I came to live with her, like I had a choice in the matter. The worst part was, you know, I just showed up, you know, her daughter, who was my mother, died less than a month ago. And when I first got to the house, she was talking to the social workers, and I overheard her saying that, you know, my mom was a piece of shit. She's surprised this didn't happen sooner. And she was like, so how long is she gonna be here? Because I don't have time to take care of a child. Anyway, so as soon as we get into the house, she explains to me how much of an inconvenience I am, and that I'm gonna have to pull my weight around here because she's disabled and can't get stuff done like she used to now that I'm here. How the fuck does that make any sense? It doesn't. After that, she gave me a whole long list of chores that I had to do every day before my bedtime, which was at 9 p.m. The worst part was everything on this list, you could tell she had never ever done in her entire fucking life. This was just shit that she was literally making up on the spot. She pretty much treated me like a live-in maid. The first thing on the list was to, of course, scrub the toilet, scrub the bathroom walls. Next, we move on to the fucking kitchen. Clean the inside of the stove, clean the inside of the microwave, do all the dishes. Now, you guys would think that these are simple tasks to do, and they are, they really are. But let me paint you guys a picture real quick. I just want you to imagine that small house that you see on the show Hoarders with shit everywhere. You could not even walk into the fucking kitchen without stepping on garbage or plates that had just been thrown on the floor because you can't get in to put them in the sink. Dishes all over the counters. The dishwasher is open and it has dishes put all in it, but it's not closed. And it's not, you know, there's just garbage piling on top of shit. Oh, and get this one. Another thing on the list was to clean the bird shit off of the porch. First of all, what she called a porch wasn't even a fucking porch. It was a piece of plywood that they put in front of the back stairs, in front of the back door. You know, you open the door, you step onto a piece of fucking plywood. So 2 days later, I tried calling the social worker again because I was not fucking dealing with this shit. But they said, we're sorry, you know, we know you're not used to this, but you know, your court date is coming up. Yay me, I had to live here for now. So I give up and give in, thinking that if I just did all this shit, she wouldn't bother me, right? Wrong. She also made me get a job delivering newspapers to pretty much pay for whatever she wanted that money to go towards, if it went towards groceries. Actually, my first paycheck went towards buying all the cleaning supplies to clean up her house. She couldn't even have the decency of, you know, providing the cleaning products. Nope, I had to go buy that shit myself. Was I surprised at this point though? Absolutely not. And this was absolutely ridiculous because this woman literally was getting disability checks for some bullshit illnesses that she claimed to have. The best part is the first 5 doctors who saw her for these quote illnesses were like, yeah dude, no, there's nothing fucking wrong with you. So she went to 4 more, and the last one finally, you know, was like, okay, yeah, you're diagnosed with this pretty much, however the fuck that shit works. And now she gets a check from the government every month. And this was just not working at all for me. The more I gave, the more she took, and shit was just really going bad. Fast forward, the vibe in the house changed, surprisingly. She started being kind of nice to me some days. Not every day, some days, not even some days. I would say like 1 or 2 days out of the month. For example, on one of the days that she decided to be nice to me, she barged into the closet where my bed was, because yes, my bed was in a freaking closet. I will put up a picture of an example of what it looks like right here. Yeah. Which, might I add, it was super uncomfortable because literally there was only enough room for a bed. All of my clothes were literally sitting at the bottom of my bed with school books and shoes because she didn't want my shit all over the house. So I had to curl up in a ball and go to sleep at night. I don't know how this was ever allowed. Literally. Anyways, like I said, she comes in and she's like, hey, we're gonna go to dinner tonight. You know, let me do your makeup. I have something for you to wear. And I'm like, okay, what the fuck? What the fuck is happening? So I let her do my makeup. She made me put on this dress that made me look like a 4-year-old. It literally looked like a 1990s fucking Easter dress. And then she put my hair up in a bun with a bow. But of course I didn't say no because this was the first time that I was going to be seeing people in a month. Somebody except for my grandmother. So even if I had to go out looking like this, in my head, it was fucking worth it. So we walk into this tavern. It's basically this little empty bar in the middle of probably one of the worst neighborhoods. I don't know why you would ever take somebody here to go out to eat. So we get seated, the owner comes out, he pulls my grandma aside for 15 minutes. They have a private conversation, which is fucking weird. So they both come back over to the table, they sit down, and he just starts telling me about himself. Like at first it seemed like an introduction, and I was like, oh, okay, hi, my name is this, you know, da-da-da. But this dude pretty much just started giving me his whole fucking life story. And that apparently he's been really good friends with my grandma for a while, and my grandma talks so much about me. No, she doesn't. She fucking hates me. So at this point, I'm like, all right, man, I really don't give a fuck. Like, since I'm basically skin and bones because I've been fucking starved for the past month, all I want to do is eat. That's really all I want. Eventually, he catches on to the fact that I'm really not taking an interest in anything that he has to fucking say. So he gets up from the table and walks away, and after he walks away, my grandma kicks me really hard under the table, and she started telling me how I was being rude and disrespectful, and this is exactly why she doesn't take me places, because she knew that I was gonna act exactly like my mother. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Anyways, after that, she pretty much told me that she had to go and do damage control now. So after I was done eating, I went, sat outside on like the stairs, and 30 minutes later she comes out. So fast forward, at this point I was super excited because my court date was coming up and I would finally be able to leave this nightmare of a fucking place. And then just when I think I can catch a break, COVID hits. Yup, of course it does. Of course it fucking does. So my date got delayed 3 months until they could start doing like the Zoom calls or whatever. So now I was stuck there even longer without a way out. But the weird part was my grandma didn't seem that upset this time. But once again, she barged into my closet and she was like, put this on and then come out here, I'll do your hair and makeup, we're going out to dinner again. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
Like, it wasn't really like I questioned anything because it was like she's taking me out to eat, but like, I don't know, I just thought maybe she liked doing my makeup and my hair, but it was weird. So this time, instead of dressing me up like a 5-year-old, she puts me in this short dress, puts red lipstick on me, and does my, like, straightens my hair. I pretty much look like a fucking prostitute. Yes. And then she started taking pictures of me, and when I asked what they were for, she was like, oh, like, I'm gonna send them to my friends, they keep asking about you. And I'm like, sis, you don't have no fucking friends. You don't even have a life. How the fuck do you have friends? You don't. So we went out to eat. Same thing happened as last time. She got pissed off at me for not being a nice person. And we got home and I just started thinking about how much I fucking hated my life. Like, I was depressed all the time. Like, really fucking depressed. So at that point, I decided to do the most logical thing that popped up in my head. Run away.
Run, bitch! Run!
So I waited till about 3 in the morning after my grandma was knocked the fuck out because she took her Xanax, which apparently she needs every night to help her go to sleep because of her medical condition. So after that, I grabbed my bike and I rode it about 3 miles away to the nearest bus station. That was the nice thing about me delivering papers for my job because I kind of was able to learn my way around. Anyway, so I got there around 3:30, but it wasn't until I got there that I realized I low-key fucked up because there was a sign that says like buses stop running from 12 a.m. to 7 a.m. So I was like, fuck, now what am I gonna do for the next 4 or 5 hours? Do I stay here and wait for the bus, or do I go back to my grandma's house? So I decide that I'm not going back to my fucking grandma's house, and I just decide that I'm going to stay near there and wait because I wasn't gonna sit there and actually wait because I could have got kidnapped or something, and that's just not the vibe. I've suffered enough. And I'm not gonna lie, I was dying trying not to fall asleep. I was sitting in the back of some alleyway near a fucking dumpster where I had like a view of the bus stop. So I checked my phone, and my phone didn't have any service or anything, by the way. I had it whenever I got to my grandma's house and I just never told her about it. So I checked my phone, it's 5 o'clock. I decide this is a good time. Cars are driving past and everything like that. People are going to work. The shops around the bus station are opening up, you know. So I decide I'm gonna go sit on the bench and wait for the bus. I sit there for about 20 minutes, and then it was one of the worst things I probably could have done because 25 minutes later, my grandma pulls up in her fucking garbage ass Honda Civic that literally sounded like it was gonna shit the bed in 5 seconds. And she parked her car literally in the middle of the fucking street, got out of the car, came over, gripped me up by my hair, and was silent. And then when we got back to the house, she was like, why would you try to run away? You're so ungrateful. She was like, how do you think it felt whenever my friends called me and said that you were waiting on a bench at the bus station? Yeah. She was like, now what will people think of you? Pretty much making it seem like I was the fucking issue here. I'm not the issue, you are. So I still have over 2 weeks until my scheduled hearing. And even then, I still might not even get to fucking leave this place. My grandma knew how I felt. She did not give one single fuck. But 5 days before my court hearing, she did the same shit. She did my makeup, did my hair, gave me clothes. And she was like, we're going out to dinner to celebrate. When we got there, of course, that creepy ass guy was there. We were celebrating the fact that I was fucking leaving her house, and she was celebrating that I was leaving. So yeah, that was one thing we had in common. She hated me and I hated her. So anyways, we're in there. That creepy ass fucking owner is there too, you know. We're sitting at the bar and she's like, you know, your mother was about the same age whenever she got her first drink of alcohol. I want to pass down the tradition. I'm gonna get you a shot. So she gets me 3 shots, and I had never drank alcohol before, so I didn't know what to expect. But I fell for her trick and I took those 3 shots and blacked the fuck out. The next day I woke up in my bed with the same clothes on, so I never really thought that much about it, to be honest. I just thought that I was really drunk and had a good time. But apparently that's not what happened at all. I was drugged by my grandmother. So that morning, I get up, get dressed into my garbage clothes, and start cleaning the fucking house, because that was pretty much the only thing I was good for there. And while I'm doing that, we hear a knock on the door. My grandma opens the door. It's the police and some people from CYS. They started asking me questions and stuff like that about if I knew the owner of that restaurant that we would always go to. I told him that my grandma and I had went to have dinner with him a few times and that he was super weird and I didn't like him. And then they asked me some questions about my grandma and him, you know, like if I ever saw them like interact with each other and stuff like that. And I pretty much told them yeah, and like I told them about how the fact that she would dress me up to go and see him and stuff like that. And it was just super weird. Eventually they informed me that his girlfriend had reported him to the police for being a child predator. She found pictures of me naked while I was blacked out on his phone. And not only was he a child predator, but he also would traffic girls for money. And my grandma just happened to be an accomplice who would occasionally house girls at her fucking piece of shit shack. And now it all started to make sense. When my grandma said that I was an inconvenience for her and she was so hostile when I first showed up, I mean, she probably could have acted like that either way, but it was probably because I was stopping her from running her business. Not to mention, she would dress me up to go on these dates. The first time she dressed me as a fucking child to see if, you know, he liked me that way. Second time she dressed me as a fucking prostitute. And it also turned out they planned to sell me and get $30,000 for me. And they had the perfect plan for my disappearance. You know the night that I ran away? Yeah, that night they had planned to, you know, if anybody asks, tell them that I ran away. But my grandma was going to write a note, and like there were text messages of all of this shit, but they were going to, you know, my grandma was going to write a note, leave it, and it would be like, I'm leaving, I'll be back in 5 days, don't call the cops, I love you grandma, this, that, and the next, and just never come back. And then whenever the police were like, well, why didn't you call the cops? She's like, well, she said she wasn't gonna come back if I called the cops. How the fuck does that make sense? Needless to say, they went to jail. And once I was finally able to use a working phone without my fucking grandma monitoring my phone calls, I called my mom's best friend Lily, and I pretty much told Lily about everything that had been going on, and she told me that she's been looking for me and pretty much just been trying to get information on where I was, and eventually Lily was able to adopt me. Okay everybody, that is the end of today's story time. If you guys like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of me, maybe hit that subscribe button down below. And if you want to know when I post my next video, make sure to click that bell. And don't forget, if you guys want to send in your anonymous story times, make sure to click the link down below in the description. But other than that, I will see you guys in the next story time.